What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another week of the Star Wars Exchange. And of course, we're reviewing Andor once again here for week 3, but episode 5 we're on. But of course, before we get into anything, welcome back to my co-host Mike. It feels like a lifetime since you've been on the show. It's been too long. How are you? Good to have you back.
Thank you. I do miss my replacement, Artur, also known
Yeah,
as
shout out
Parks,
Parks. Yeah,
also known as the third co-host of this show. But shout out Parks, thank you so much for filling in for me, and I'm glad to be back. Messaged him that day, being like, "Hey, do you want to join us for a good talk for Andor?" And he's like, "Yeah, I would love to." I'm like, "Great, you could be our first guest for our little rundown of the series," and then all in the span of like 4 hours, I got a new job. And
yeah.
so I just had to attend to those duties, and he became the co-host for the day. So shout out Parks, appreciate him filling in, stepping in for me, and he's always not only do we love his awesome personality, but we also love his cool takes. Or I should have said that the other way around.
Yeah.
We love
No,
Parks.
we love Parks.
Point
We
is, we
do.
love
But
Parks, and point
the other
is,
point
I'm
is,
also
though,
the other
it's
point
great
is
to
that I'm
have you
happy.
back.
Yeah, so I'm glad to be back, and I appreciate everyone, all the messages and stuff that I've gotten. I guess Ari worded it really poorly, but I'm doing okay. Like, I'm good. It was just that I got a new job and I needed to attend to that. So,
I
like
was
right now,
unsure of how to put it. I didn't know
it's
if what you did and didn't want to be revealed.
me getting a new job, guys. Very personal subject, but
Well, I don't know.
it's
So
all
it's a
right. It's
personal issue, personal
You know
matter.
what? You know what's even more a personal matter? Us recording right now. I'm trying to look. My eye contacts are kind of drying out. It's 3:30 right now, in
It
the morning
is.
for me. So right now, and what time is it for you? Are you want to let them
It's
know?
7:30 p.m. Yeah.
7:30 p.m. and we're like short of several, like 30 minutes from finishing watching the Andor episode. So
Yep.
we're like recording at all different times and stuff. We're just trying things out,
But yeah, we're
So
tight on time at the minute. Things will start to sort themselves out soon, but right now we need to scramble a bit to get the episodes together. But doesn't mean that we're not going to sit here and talk all things Andor for the next 40 or so minutes. Very
yes.
excited to talk about this one. As Mike just said, we're pretty fresh off of watching it. But yeah, let's get into it. Mike, what did you think of episode 5?
Man, I don't know what it is about the series that I just love. Like, there's just I literally sit there with the subtitles on and I'm reading it. Like, it feels like, if anything, it feels like one of the books, uh, you know, one of the books of the Star Wars books that we've read, and it feels like all that has come to life. Like those the when I felt that, especially in this episode, was when the one ex police officer, what's his name? Do you have his name on
Cyril
file?
Khan. Yeah.
When he's talking to his mom and they're just having these like life moment conversations, and
Yeah.
they're eating. And by the way, Trix is obviously not for kids anymore. It's obviously for people like Karn. Do you know what Trix is? Is that a
Is that a
thing in that story?
cereal?
It's a
I don't think
cereal,
it
yeah.
is, but I assume that's what you're talking
It
about. Also,
it
we got a blue milk and Melu runs.
Yes, we do. But I was
I
more
think they were
intrigued by
Melu
the
runs. I think.
I was more
Sorry, I just
intrigued. Yeah, you know what? I did see
I
the
can see
Mailer
someone
runs.
typing in the chat. They weren't actually Melu runs.
Calm down, all right. But I will say I did see the tricks, and I was very much intrigued by it, and I was like, oh my god, that was my favorite cereal as a kid. Well, when they had like the fruit shapes, and now they turn them into like spheres, and I was like, you're not that fun, but yeah, it's still same concept. But yeah, I was fascinated by that. I love how deep this show is. Like, there's deep cup references, and I mean, I love the shot where we were on Coruscant and on the speeder at night, and it looked like it was a direct shot from Attack of the Clones.
Oh yeah.
During
Yeah,
the
big
speeder
fan.
chase, I was like, oh shoot, like the way the camera was moving before the speeder shows up, like that was insane. There's so much detail in this show, and again, I mean, what I love about this episode too, is like there's so many. It even juggled more things than what the series has been juggling with, and it did so perfectly. Where I just wanted to go back to each part where, if we were with Cassian and all his fellow, or what do they call him? Glim, Glem,
Clem.
Clem. When we're with Clem,
Close.
and it's so far off though.
Yeah.
But when we're with Clem and his fellow conspirators, I just want to go back to them. But then when we're with Mon Mothma shouting at the breakfast table, I want to go back to that. And then when we're with Karn, want to go back to that. Like, there's
Mm.
just so much. in this show that involves the audience with, whether that's the sporadic storylines or just like the bit of intrigue each. Like I just feel like we're getting like all these breadcrumbs all at once, and I'm like, I can't wait the next episode for everything to like blow up in our faces and be like, yeah,
Mm,
that was the end of this arc type stuff. So
yeah.
overall, as you can tell, I really like this episode. But Ari, what was your experience? And we actually, this was our first time watching an episode together since Obi-Wan. So we sat
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
FaceTime and both reacted. And Ari was like this the entire time. And so was I. But I was the same way because we're just intrigued by this show. But
Well,
there you
like
go.
that's it's funny you say that because that's actually something I like about the show is that I'm not like sitting there having these like, oh my god, massive reaction because Ahsoka just showed up or whatever. I'm sitting there just like taking in all the information, just enjoying the dialogue, just watching some nice character arcs, come to fruition. So, no, this episode I think actually had me the most engaged in out of any of them. I really enjoyed it. Could potentially be my favorite one yet. Um, yeah, once again, it was just another episode where outside of maybe a TIE fighter flying on top of them, this was just another episode of dialogue, just characters talking to each other. And I love that. I think that's fantastic. We're going to get into the action next week. There's going to be that'll come, but right now, I'm just loving spending time with all these characters. We've got Mon Mothma, we've got Cyril Khan, Cassian, obviously. I'm loving learning about all of the, yeah, as you said, his conspirators or whatever you said. We've got Skeen, we've got, I wrote a few of them down. We've got the guy from that series who I've forgotten the name of, Nemec. There it is. Yeah, so like anyway, a lot of cool characters, Val, or Vel. Just yeah, enjoying all of everything that they're doing is entertaining. Like my favorite scene from the episode was probably at the start where Cassian was talking to Skeen about his tattoos, and he's like, "You know what this is, don't you?" All that. I don't know. Just good interactions overall. I like the story with Cyril Khan. Um, I like where that's going. Even Dedra was still in this episode. I'm finally starting to remember character names. A lot of
Who's
them just because
Dedra?
I have
Is she
them
the
written down.
Imperial?
Yeah, the female working for the ISB.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, once again, it's just another good episode. Before we recorded, we were like, "Damn, like I don't really know what to say about this," because it's like I don't. It's right. I don't really know what to say. It's like it's great. There's a lot of good dialogue. But we'll obviously talk through all the characters and what's happening. But overall, it's just I've just sit down for another week of Andor, and I'm just like, yeah, this was fun. I liked it. It's a good series. Can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I like that we talked about this also before that this isn't a series we particularly know how to cover for like an Instagram audience, but
Yeah,
I am having the time of my life talking about the show,
yeah,
with you and with the audience here, like and listening to other people's reactions. Like I love this part.
yeah,
Like I don't, because what am I gonna post, like a still of Cassian like taking off his necklace, like, or of Karn just sitting at the breakfast table with his mom eating tricks. Like,
yeah,
okay, cool, I'll make a post about that, I guess. But seriously, like I just love talking about like all the stuff, the material that they present to the audience here. And as you said, it's not anything flashy where they're like, oh my god, look, Ahsoka. Like I literally the shivers that I got when the TIE fighter swooped down and like use intimidation tactics to scare the people around. I'm just like, that is just nasty. That is brutal. And we also got the Imperials marching around Nazi style. I was like, that is scary stuff. Scary stuff. So yeah, I
yeah.
will say I missed our. I don't know what the guy was, what his name was last week, but the guy with the mustache. I was so the head guy, the headmaster or something.
The leader of
The
the ISB.
hmm I
Yeah, right.
so I've been watching The Crown on Netflix, and Prime Minister. I just finished it today, season 2, but I forgot what his name was. But anyways, like it's played by the same actor, and I just want to say that because last week at the ISB meeting, I was like, wow, this feels like an episode from The Crown or something, where all the delegates from the British government are all gathered together. Like I was like, this feels just like that. And then it turns out that it's the same head honcho. It's like the same guy who played the prime minister in that series for like season 2, or I forgot what the prime minister name was. Like it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
guys, give me a break. But he plays the headmaster here, and at the ISB. I was like, wow, that is crazy. So, anyways, yeah, just I think. And by the way, shout out the acting. I was like, okay, maybe because maybe we'll see more flaws of just when you have more scenes with character interactions and more ground time, you kind of, that's when I think an actor's challenge with like being all into it because nothing crazy is happening. It's like actual dialogue. You have to make it sound natural and all this stuff. The acting in the show is just amazing. Like I'm taken aback by all the characters that Ari was mentioning, and plus, Diego Luna's acting in this was great as well. I noticed. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just sitting here taking out the popcorn at 2 a.m. and watching this with enjoyment. So
yeah.
can't wait to discuss more of the episode.
Yeah, no, you're right though. Diego Luna is like just making me fall in love with Cassian, more and more every week. And it's funny you mentioned the food. I mentioned in like the first week of reviewing the show how much I love like the space noodles, and this one again, love the space cereal. I'm like, I just love seeing normal human food just in styles. I don't know why, it makes me happy. But yeah, let's go through the episode. Let's start with the Cyril Khan arc because that was where we started, obviously. Once again, it was one of those characters who was introduced in the premiere, and then after those 3 episodes, I kind of thought, okay, like that was that character. Now moving on, but no, apparently there is a lot more left to be done here. We see him at the end of the episode. He gets to the point, he's just looking at a hologram of Cassian. Is he going for revenge? Is that what he wants? I'm not really sure, but yeah, I think honestly, your comparison to that opening scene at the table with his mother to a Star Wars book is so spot on because that is the exact sort of content we would get in like Star Wars literature. So that's a great point by you. But yeah, no, I'm enjoying his arc. I don't really know what to expect with him. I don't really fully understand where his investment is. Is it in the Empire? Is it in just himself? Is it in his family? Is it in the rebellion? Is it in Cassian? Like, yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I love that we just got some real time with him and his mother talking about his uncle and his possible connections to get him back out there.
Yeah,
I love that we didn't skip a week and we were like, oh, suddenly he's back into the fray. Like
yeah,
he's getting as much spotlight as Mon Mothma, which I think is very interesting. So yeah, like I yeah, I'm very curious. We kept seeing this picture image of Karn with that hollow image and like the promo material and stuff, and I was like,
Mhm.
finally we get to see it come out in the series. But I have to say, like, I'm just very um, I, I'm just. It was at this moment where I was like wowed by the series carefully handling like every thread of the story and still making it feel impactful even though only you got like a
yeah,
10 seconds for that particular part, and each sequence with Karn I felt like we got something really good and juicy, and then it finished off with him. It felt like a very Rebels thing, like, oh, I'm gonna stare at this hologram in the next
yeah,
episode, we're
yeah,
gonna get the action.
yeah,
So I don't know, maybe for some reason Card heads to this place that they're gonna raid, and for some maybe his uncle works on that station, and
yeah.
or something.
Actually,
So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm
cool.
very very interested in his motives, like what's because he just kind of comes to his mother's and like with like rocks on his back and it's like I don't know where to go, like, and he gets shat on by her being like, oh, you should have invited me. Silence is everything, so it's like I wonder what's gonna go on from here. But yeah, I'm like interested as much as anything with this guy, like what's the motive, what's gonna happen, and now that we have his uncle in the play, like is that gonna come into fruition? So yeah, I would say he's hunting Cassia next week. He wants revenge. He's on a
Yeah,
revenge tour.
I think
He was
that's
he was
what.
he was done
Yeah, that's
dirty.
what it's all pointing towards. Do you agree with Sarah Khan's mother that an open invitation may as well be no invitation at all?
I so agree. There's so many. If we ever do, if we ever do a spin-off podcast of the Star Wars Exchange, maybe like the Life Exchange or something,
The
like
life
we can
exchange.
talk about how deep that quote was because we've all been not we all. when we don't get invited to things or it's an open invitation, whatever. It's like, no, you gotta ask me to get out there. So yeah, we all like personal invites. That's personal friendships, personal relationships. You gotta be nice. You can't just be
Yeah.
like that. So shame on him.
Yeah. Last thing on the Sarah Khan stuff as well. I love that. Yeah, it's like in reality, what is going on in the scene is he's sitting at the table eating breakfast, you know. But then there's just like
Literally.
so many layers on layers on layers that engage the audience and make us actually interested in watching that, you know. If this
Yeah.
was The Mandalorian and it would just, they'd make a joke about how Grogu eats funny or something and then we'd move on, you know. Not
But
to
we get
compare
like
Andor to other Star Wars shows, but you know what I'm saying.
but we would get cool, cute music with Grogu, like that child. Like, oh man, season
Yeah,
two.
yeah.
That's a different discussion. But you're right. You're right though. Like I complained about this during the Kenobi series and Book of Boba Fett that it's like, can we just like like just like stay and dwell on sequences and with the
Mm,
characters? And I love that we have that downtime of just people just walking across. Like you'll get a shot of just a wide shot of someone walking from one end of the hallway to the other, and it's like, yeah, let us like remnant in this. Like even we got a whole bunch with that one uh, uh, woman in the Empire in the ISB where she was just walking down from corridor to corridor, and it's
Dedra.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
just give us that downtime. Just let us, be here with the saturate with the environment and with the characters. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that we get, as you said, like this whole dinner or breakfast sequence, and it's like a whole bunch of revelation and exposition is happening. So yeah, 100%, 100%.
Let's now talk about Mon Mothma's arc during the episode.
Ooh.
So, first of all, I'm curious into what happened with that dinner. Did that just get cancelled? Is that for another week? Because immediately I was raising questions when they didn't put it in the recap. I was like, they didn't mention that at all. Because I remember last week, me and Parks were saying that was one of the things we were most looking forward to is potentially seeing all the names that they mentioned that I'm already forgetting.
Slymore
Slime Wall.
party.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe that we just have to wait more. We'll see. But yeah, wow, Mon Mothma we saw a very, very different side of her, one that we have never seen before, not even close to. She's struggling to hold her family together. You know, she seems to have a very disgruntled relationship with her husband. She clearly is not getting along with her daughter very well. Maybe she's not giving her daughter the time of day. I don't know what it would be, but yeah, Mon Mothma is as people would say nowadays, she's down bad, I guess. Yeah, what do you think?
Yo, if it was 3 a.m., I would make much louder noise than that. But everyone's sleeping in my household. Well, welcome to the Stars Exchange, everyone. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow on all the podcasts, streaming platforms, all that. Thanks so much. Mon Mothma is down bad. I just gotta say, like, this was a whole different breakfast scene than the one before, and I was
Mm.
like, okay, all right. There's a little
I'm
bit of
loving these
quarrel.
breakfast scenes.
I
Give us
know
more of them. Yeah.
it's literally yeah, I want more of them, and it just made me hungry seeing that Trix and some quarrel over the over some biscuits. But I will say that the I love when I already thought the dynamic with her and her husband was interesting, but when you brought the daughter into the play, I was like, wow, I would love, like, you could totally see this in a Star Wars book happening where it's like a news reporter or someone of the public being like, how can Mon Mothma want to like save the galaxy like later? Like let's say we were like post Endor when she becomes Chancellor of the New Republic. How does she expect to run the galaxy when she can't even run her own household, you know? It's like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
damage that would do to her public image. That's insane. And yeah, so I like that a lot. I thought it brought a new whole perspective to her where it's like, dang, like every time they show Mon Mothma, like Return of the Jedi, like she was just a meme being like, many Bothans died to bring us this information. Like we all thought that was funny. Like I was a kid and being like, what is that orange lady saying? Like that was just
That
funny
orange lady.
with the hair, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but then we get her in Rogue One, and they do this whole like Throwback Thursday. Like, look, she's coming back, and she looks exactly just like she did in Return of the Jedi. It's like wow, because we got her in Clone Wars and deleted scenes of Revenge of the Sith. But
Mm.
really, the hype began with Rogue One, and then Rebels was like, oh, we like Genevieve O'Reilly. We're gonna get her back, and she came back to Rebels, and she smashed the row, and now.
She was in Rogue One as well, wasn't she?
Did I say Rogue One already?
I don't know. Sorry,
Anyway,
I thought you were
sorry.
saying like she came back in Rebels and not in Rogue One. My bad, my bad.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah. I mean, yeah, that was all cool. So now we're here and we're still learning things of her. So now I'm looking at her in Rogue One and Rebels all differently. Just because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, she has a daughter. She's
I
not on good
couldn't have even
terms.
told you she had a daughter
I
before
would
this.
have
Was
never
that
guessed
even a
that.
thing? Like,
I
yeah,
no, I would have never guessed that. I'm like, oh, she's single. She's just worrying
yeah,
about and then she's married and she has a kid. So that was yeah. I love that they're adding layers upon layers to the
yeah,
universe in different ways. So yeah. Uh, but
absolutely.
the dinner scene, I last episode that was the coolest thing ever, just because of all
Yeah,
not just the mentions and stuff, but it was like to see that kind of like um her the whole trading routes and how was she gonna be a hypocrite and sit here with them and stuff like that. Like I loved that, so I was interested seeing that, but I don't know if I was too hung up on seeing like the actual dinner. I have thought they might have done it off screen, because for this episode, even you before we talked, you're like, oh, what was the big thing that we were like, me and Parks were looking forward to? And they're, oh yeah, it was the dinner scene, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
I didn't even I forgot about that. Like I was just like I was ready to see more or more Cassian and his little spies do about their work. But yeah, I maybe I mean what was the dinner they went to? But they were supposed to host the dinner. So
yeah.
yeah, you're right. Did it get
It was a
canceled?
different one.
Did
Yeah,
Mon
I don't know.
cancel it? I don't.
Maybe I honestly, maybe it did just happen off screen, or maybe she was like, "No, I don't want to hang out with Slime more. We're not hosting her at our house."
Just slide more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Mon Mothma deal. As always, excited to see how that progresses. But let's talk about the whole Cassian storyline from this episode. It is his series after all. I think, like I mentioned at the top of the episode, the scene where he's talking to Skeen about the tattoos, absolutely loved. Obviously, that transpired into something bigger with them having trust issues with each other, all that sort of stuff. We see Cassian really not wanting to be touched, doesn't want his possessions to be touched, any of that. We hear a little bit more about how he was almost, I guess he was locked up for 3 years essentially, or maybe he was put through child labor, something like that, by the because of the Empire, I assume. I should definitely go back and rewatch that before I talk about it, as if I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, anyway, cool stuff. I loved the scene where Skeen puts a knife to Cassian's neck and says, "What's this? What if you're? Why would you bring a $50,000 crystal to a robbery mission or whatever it was?" And then of course I thought we were going to get the attack this week, and then episode 6 was going to be like the fallout of it, but clearly episode 6 is going to be where it all goes down. So can't wait for that. I mean, I assume it is. Um, but yeah, the TIE fighter seeing them as well, that, as you mentioned, that was a really cool moment. But the most action we saw in the whole episode. I wonder, is that going to have any consequences? Was that like, were they found out there, or what was the deal with that? But
I
yeah,
Yeah, good question. I don't know. That's what I thought it would be, because I love the way the TIE fighter came in, then flew away, and oh, it's gone. No, it's coming back, and
yeah,
I love that whole tension. Yeah, that's. I thought that. I Aren't they aware that there's some people still living there and stuff like that? There's only like farmers and stuff like
yeah,
that,
right.
shepherds type people.
Maybe. Oh,
But
that's why they're trying to hide all the guns. That makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah,
yeah. So I remember they explained it like in the last episode, maybe I
yeah,
guess. But
yeah.
um,
Okay.
but the one thing that I don't want the series to become, as you like you're mentioning that, like, oh, you thought that the action would happen in this episode.
Mm.
I don't want it to become where every third episode that's when we can expect the action. Like
Yeah.
that
Okay.
sounds
No, I'm
too
with you.
too formulaic. Where it's
Yeah.
like, guys, sorry, don't expect anything for the next 2 weeks. You gotta wait for the third week of the arc. So that's when things are gonna go down.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think Clone Wars did it perfectly, where you had like the introductory episode, then the middle one, and like there was just something big that happened in each one, where it was like either like action wise or just like something to keep driving the story forward. And it's doing that here, but it's just I don't want it to become formulaic, because Clone Wars sometimes they would do 3 episodes, sometimes they would do 4, sometimes it would fall into like that into the trope of carrying the story over for no purpose but other than to fill out the episode count.
Mm.
I don't feel that yet with the series, but I do hope for the next story, or like the next arc or whatever, probably the Saw Gerrera one. I really, really hope that they don't save all the action for the third episode. Like that's
Yeah.
just gonna be so frustrating, and to be
No,
like
I
sitting here,
completely
well,
agree. Yeah.
let's not get our hopes up for the next episode, because we all know the third episode, that's when it's gonna deliver. Like, yeah, that would be boring to me. But yeah, the scenes here with the Cassian and the spies and the infiltration team. Like, I just love the buildup. Like, the buildup is
Yeah.
good. Yeah, not to say like I was bored or anything. Like, the buildup was good.
Yeah.
So next episode should be quite fun. But yeah,
What'd you think of the scene with Skeen like putting the knife to his neck?
that was like I said, the tension in this and all this is pretty darn good. And I was like, there's already tension building between them, but then when that happened, I was like, oh shoot, like it's going
Yeah.
down. So wasn't expecting him to actually like find a necklace or whatever. So that
Yeah.
was really cool. But I love the way that whole scene played out, and Cassian was like, I don't care about protocol or whatever. He's like, I'm a hired gun.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That's what
I
I am.
absolutely loved that. That he was like came out, he just laid on. He's like, look, you guys aren't gonna trust me, so I'm just gonna tell you how it is. I'm getting
Right.
paid. Like, whether you like that or not, that's
Right.
my secret. It's all out
And
there now. You know what I mean? Like,
I love how, for me, I was like, okay, he's getting paid, whatever. Like, I think when you're devoted to a cause, like let's say here in this, we're both recording here, but let's say Parks comes on. It's like, I love doing this so much, and I'm so passionate about podcasting, that, not to say Parks isn't, but it's like, let's say Ari paid Parks to be here, and it's like, oh, he's getting paid. Okay, cool. I still get enjoyment out of this every week doing this, where it's like,
yeah,
I don't see as oh, I need to get paid to do this, like, at all. I would be like, oh, Parks getting paid, cool. Send me some I don't know, buy something for me one day or whatever. But like the fact that they were all mad because they all had like a passion and they were all doing it for the cause,
yeah.
as where Cassian was just getting paid. It's like, you know what? He's
Doesn't mean
helping
he
you
doesn't
guys.
care.
It
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't exactly. It doesn't mean he doesn't care. If anything, he's helping drive he's helping you reach your goal, right? So it's
yeah,
like, yeah, I mean, whatever. So I did like the reactions though, because I mean, some plays, I mean, there are going to be situations in real life when that happens, and it's like, I felt like those were like the most genuine reactions. But then they like simmered over it and calmed down, and I was like, okay, now this feels
yeah,
real, or really real. And then I love the way they came together with Skeen.
yeah, yeah.
I love the way Skeen and Cassian, he kind of apologized to him, but it wasn't an apology. Like, that was just well done.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. So another thing I love from Cassian was, I think, toward the start of the episode, where they were asking him, oh, like, what do we need with like the weight or something like this? And he's like, are you trying to test
Right.
me? And then he's like, oh, you guys actually don't know. Like, what
Yeah.
would you have done without me? Like,
Right.
I
Right.
love the delivery, everything with that.
Hmm.
Also, shout out to Nemec once again. I still think he's gonna die next week, because that true believer always just seems to go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the
Yeah.
person's just so passionate, so hopeful. Like, we're at a midpoint. We're at the midpoint of the series where I think I can see someone like Nemec just dying, and then
Oh, you're
they
right.
he's gonna want to become like Nemec and like have hope, and I don't even know, something like that. I can just see it playing out in my head. But yeah,
You
I love the Nemec character still.
oh,
He was so heartbroken as well when he found out about the money, because
he
I think
was.
last episode he said something like, "Oh, like I can see it in his eyes. He cares," or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, good. Yeah, that's a good callback. I I thought, I for a second, just because he's like that type of character, type of person to be like, stop fighting, guys. Let's just find the peaceful way out of this.
yeah,
When they were all arguing, and he's like, there's a ship approaching, and then you just see nothing. I was like, oh, he toyed with them. There's no ship, but then there's an
yeah,
actual Imperial shuttle. I was like, oh, okay. But
yeah.
what's his name again?
Nemec.
Nemec. Oh my God, all these names are so mundane, but
I know.
Nemec.
Nemec,
It's like
Nix, Skeen,
we, yeah, we got. Oh my gosh, we
Val.
got. Oh yeah,
Val.
Val, Fennec,
Dedra.
Nemec. Yeah, just, oh my gosh. But
Brasso. Wilmon. Pegler. So I'm just reading off Stars.com right now.
that's
But yeah.
those are quite the names. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we love Nemec.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nemec, Krennic. Oh my gosh, it's like these. Oh my gosh. Anyways,
But yeah, so that's sort of like that whole side of the episode. A few other smaller things that were going on. The Empire is establishing itself on Ferrix, which is interesting because I think that's how we're going to see characters like Bix and the mother figure B2 then be introduced into the story through like some sort of imperial occupation on that planet. I'm guessing, so that was cool to see. We're also seeing Dedra. She's still pursuing all her leads on potential rebel activity. She even shot out Jakku, a few other planets that we're familiar with. So that was really cool. And then, of course, at the end of the episode, we saw Luthen Rail. Is that what we're calling him? And he's worried about the mission. And did you see that massive like Sith holocron looking thing in the background? I don't know if
Yeah.
that was like, I don't know what that was about. And also another thing next to it was like it looks like one of those juggernaut box things from Justice League. I haven't watched that movie since it came out, but it just made me think of that.
That was
If anyone
such
else
an
knows what I'm talking about,
wait,
comment.
wait, from the boxes thing?
Yeah.
The
That was next to the holocron.
I'm I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I can't believe you just referenced that. Like that was so out of character for you. He's literally gone on about how he hasn't seen the movies and he's like the most like it's not a deep cut reference, but like the most nerdy thing out of that movie. Oh, the mother boxes, the box like that is so funny. Anyways, sorry.
It just I don't know why. That's just
Where
where
did
my
you
head
see
went
that?
when I saw it.
Where
It
did
was
you
in the
see that?
background in the antiquity shop. Oh,
I
like when did I
understand.
see the movie?
Yeah, in Justice League.
Oh,
Or
I saw it when it came out. I was like pretty young. I just went and watched it in cinemas. I was like excited for it at the time.
oh,
And
you
when I
watched
remember,
Justice League.
Yeah, I haven't seen the
Oh,
Snyder Cut or any of
oh,
that.
okay,
I've
got you.
stopped watching. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I haven't watched the DC movies for so long, but I remember being excited for it. It came out. I didn't think it was that bad. I was like, yeah, it was a movie. But
Next time you're in Chicago, we're watching the Batman. All right.
sure.
So, but yeah, you're right about the Sith holocron. Solo had one just like it, in Dryden's yacht, if you will.
Mm.
So
Oh,
he had a big one
yep,
like
yep.
that.
Yeah, I
I'm
remember.
sure. But yeah,
It's okay.
they've like shown so much in here, like so many like little Easter eggs. That's like it just feels fun. Like it's nothing where
Yeah. It's not in
it's
your face.
it's not in your face. Like it's just there if you want to pause and just watch. Like, and even as you just said, the dialogue with Jakku and Hosnian Prime
Oh, that's the
and
one. Yeah,
all
yeah.
these and Fondor, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, like this is so fun. Like it feels like Star Wars, and it just sounds all like Star Wars because just hearing the the planet Jakku in modern Star Wars, and same with Posny and Prime. I'm like, oh my god, like I'm just a little nerd here eating all those little. Since it's Halloween, I'll say candy corn. If you're not a fan of candy
Yeah.
corn, get out. No, I'm not either, but that's fine. But just little, just nuggets of little information, I mean, of just little fan things like that that make us all fangirl and fanboy over.
Yeah.
So yeah, just stuff like that, as you just said, and things that it's just there's stuff there that's eye candy. That's like, oh my god, that's so cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, Luthen in this episode, we got a brief mention of him. Who's the buyer, or who did they mention that like the his partner or whatever? She was like, oh, we have someone tomorrow, like a prospect or something coming in.
Uh, I'm not sure. I think maybe they were just talking about like, oh, go to bed because
Oh,
someone's coming in tomorrow. I think that's what they were saying.
because she
Could be
was even
wrong, but
like,
that's just how I
I just
interpreted it.
I just want you to be ready. He's like, oh, I'll be ready. So I'm like, I'm
Right.
curious to like if that'll be
Oh, okay.
something vital
Okay,
to the
that's probably something
story.
more then. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of Ferrix being reintroduced?
Who's Ferrix? The planet?
The planet. They like just showed the Imperial occupation is like starting to take place. So we're probably gonna see all those characters
Oh,
from the
right.
first arc again. Yeah.
Right. So again, guys, I watched this at 2 a.m. and I woke up at 8 a.m. today. But
Who's Ferrix?
it's sorry. Yeah. That is that when all those Imperials were marching around?
Yeah, and the guy from the ISB was like, "This is your headquarters now," or
Oh,
whatever.
that's right. That's right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, that was really cool. Now that I know it was Ferrix, I was like, "Oh, what planet is this?" But now that it's Ferrix, now that I think about that, that's again, this show is keeping the audience up to date on everything that's going on with all these characters. Like, it's juggling so many things at once and doing such a good job at it, where everything feels equalized.
yeah.
Um, so I guess I'm like, that's awesome. I love that they did that. That just like it just shows you that like I mean, again, not to drag Book of Boba Fett and because they're very different things, but like that show could barely juggle two things and it struggled so hard because it let one thing overshadow the other. And here it's just a work of balance and
Yeah,
it's an art form and I'm like, "Oh my god, that is so cool." So I love that they're like showing us cuz then in the next episode when or eventually when we see Ferrix like at an updated stage, we're gonna be like, oh my god, like look at to where they're now. Instead of being like from
yeah,
jumping from point A to point D, it's like no, they're showing us like every step of the way almost. So I absolutely love that detail that the show is showing to us.
yeah. And what about the Dedra storyline? What are you thinking of that?
Who is Dedra?
The
Oh,
uh, the the woman
as
in the ISB. Yeah,
again, apologies everyone. Too many Dedras and Fennec and Ferrix. And oh, I forgot his name already. Nemec? Whatever. Um,
is that
Dedra.
it? I think that is it. Yeah, Nemix, right?
Yes. Nemec? Yeah. But
Nemix,
Dedra,
Eric.
our friend
Yeah.
Dedra, she okay, I love that she was like it's very something different in this era where we're getting to see like the roots of rebellion because when we were in Rebels, like we saw the sparks. So it's very similar, but from a different angle, different perspective, because they were
Yeah,
focused on one group and they were fear
yeah,
of this spreading. Here, they're already aware that it's happening everywhere. And I love that line of like, you never, if you're trying to do something, start something, you never climb a fence twice or something like
mm,
that. And I was like, that is
yeah.
so that man,
Yeah, that was a
the
good line.
verbiage here. So yeah, it's like yeah, that's so true. It's like you're not gonna sneak around and go to the same place twice. So
Yeah,
I love that she's ahead of the curve and the one assistant she was talking to. And again, this felt like something to me out of one of the books, maybe like even a Thrawn novel where she was talking
mm,
to the adjutant lieutenant or whatever he is, being
yeah,
like, oh, it's late. You should probably go home. It's like, no, like actually, and then they're doing like some little secret meeting after hours, and I'm like, yes, this is
yeah,
so cool. So I love that she's like picking up the scent on. Nope, there's something else at play here. It's happening uh, too randomly at random times, and she's ahead of the curve, and I love that she's going to be that person that's going to have to either voice her opinion stronger to all these to this room of men, or she's gonna go out and have to do it herself. And
yeah,
I'm curious as to whether it'll all fall in her place
yeah.
or all in her face, or it's going to go, in the way that she thinks it will. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I
very
wonder if
curious
she'll
about
like
that.
rise up the ranks because of it, or she'll be pushed even
Oh
further
right,
down.
I love that that was a thing in the was that last episode that
Yeah,
I wasn't
yeah,
on? Yeah, in the last episode, the whole social ladder thing. Again, that's another Thrawn book type thing.
yeah,
Absolutely love that. So we'll see what happens because she seems she's above that. Like she doesn't seem like she's. I mean, yeah, from what I can remember, I don't think she was like she's just interested in that. I think she has like an actual itch that she's trying to scratch with all this. Like she's
yeah,
not trying to play the political game here. But I mean,
yeah.
what do you think we're gonna get out of like all the ISB scenes? Like, do you think it's gonna lead up to anything? Like, what are your thoughts on all of it?
Yeah,
What are
I
your
think
overall
like
thoughts?
I think that that story is going to sort of intersect with maybe potentially like Mon Mothma's um how would you say Mon Mothma's sort of like exposure as a rebel sympath I can't say that word. I'm just not going to say it. Sympathize. Oh no. Just don't worry about it.
Sympathizer,
Sympathize.
sympathizer. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I tried to say a word that just I'm not.
Guys,
I'm,
guys, please. It's 3 a.m. for Ari. Oh wait, no, it's 3 a.m. for
no, it's
me.
not. Sorry for you. Yeah. Anyway, but I said this last week, but I I'm curious as to like who should I be going for with the Dedra stuff. I want her to succeed. I want her to rise the ranks because I feel like she's. I don't know. I like this like she's disadvantaged being in that in that room already, and so then it's like because she's new, no one really seems to want anything to do with her, and then all of a sudden here she is having much better ideas than all the other people, but then at the same time if she succeeds it's not good for the rebels, so I don't know. I just like where it's all going, so yeah. But before we do wrap up, because we will start to wrap up now, what do you think is coming next, Mike, and what is your overall rating for this episode?
Oh, we're gonna skip the viewer questions. Dang
We
it.
didn't have any.
I know. Literally, guys, it's 4 a.m. now. But
Yeah.
yeah, next episode, it's where all the Fallout action is gonna happen. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty obvious. But I really think we needed this episode, and I don't see this, or at least the impact that what their mission is going to lead up to. I don't think it wouldn't have that same impact without this episode. And it didn't even feel like, oh, we're just gonna like sit around and while we plan. Like I feel like Rebels did that a lot, where they that's I mean, I'm pretty sure other series too, like the penultimate episode before the finale, like you just got like this like weird vibe where it was like, we're gonna do a regular episode, but we're not, because we're gonna
Yeah.
start setting up the finale. And this one does it so naturally where it doesn't even feel like the middle episode at all. Like it just feels like another episode in the journey. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's probably poorly worded, but whatever. It's
No,
4
it's
a.m. What else
good.
can I say? But genuinely, I'm like, I was eating that episode up. Even if we didn't get an action episode, we didn't, or next week, I would still like be like so down for whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
Cattle could be running, and that's like the only action that we get. I would be fine with it. But yeah, I think the Fallout action is going to happen next episode, and I'm just curious to where they're going to go after this, where Cassian ends up. I totally see this whole crew getting killed somehow, and Cassian being the only survivor. Like imagine. And he doesn't. I don't know. I feel like he's gonna go back to Luthen pretty mad. I don't know. I got like the vibe that I want to see the interaction between Cassian and what's the leader's name? The blonde
Val
girl,
or
Val. Yeah,
Val.
I want to
Yeah.
see their, because it just seemed like she was so stuck to Luthen's word, and then Cassian just threw it like, I was paid off, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that was it. So I want to see something between them. But I'm very curious if I feel like someone might betray the group. I don't know, or like
Wow.
in the moment panic and mess it all up. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the trailers, like the next episode, or at least like the Fallout action looks amazing. They're like scaling walls, jumping down, like it looks so cool. So I'm excited for all that. And for this episode, I'd rate it like a 7.5 or like an 8. Like it was just that good.
Yeah.
But what about you? What do you see coming up, and where are you gonna rate this episode?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much everything you said, I would just echo. Something I was thinking about, you said his name before, Saul Guerrera. I forgot he was going to be in this series. I can't wait to see him. I think he's going to be a very good inclusion. Can't wait to see him interact with Cassian. But yeah, next week we're going to get all that action. I think I think that kind of side of the story is not predictable, but it's like we know where that's going. I feel like I have no idea where the Mon Mothma stuff is going. I really am intrigued to see how that all plays out. Hopefully next week. But yeah, overall rating, I just give it like an 8. I thought it was good.
Yeah,
Just really solid, to be honest.
you
Sorry, go.
no, I made that face because you just wait. We keep, or at least I keep using that image of Mon Mothma at the Senate chamber. But that hasn't happened yet. So you're right. Like
Oh,
we
true.
still have to see her at the Senate chamber.
Yeah,
Like, is
we
that
do.
next week? Is that what's her
I guess.
case?
Yeah.
Maybe I did want a little bit more from Mon Mothma this episode, just because I felt like she made a strong debut, and I just wanted more of that.
Yeah.
Not particularly the dinner scene, but more of like what's going on with her, because I just feel like we just got more in her husband fighting. So it's just like I'm curious to like, what was that whole scene about Mon Mothma being like, or her husband being like, what's his name? And she's like, I don't know, hand sanitizer. And he goes, hand sanitizer, take the expressway. He was like,
Yeah.
okay. And I
That
was
was
like,
weird.
okay, yeah, that
Why
was
was he
weird.
not already on the expressway? Did they want to just look around Coruscant?
Seriously, what is wrong with them? Save gas, y'all. Save gas.
Yeah. Well, that was an interesting way to wrap up the episode. But yeah, Mon Mothma, safe gas. But yeah, no, for real. Thanks to everyone for listening. Listening to us cover this show. We've got another, what is it? 7 weeks of this. Is it 7 weeks? Yeah, it is, I think.
Just about.
Yeah. So, but yeah, keen to continue the journey. Having a lot of fun with it. Good to have you back, Mike. We certainly missed you last week.
It's coming back.
But yeah, make sure you are following us at the SW Exchange on Instagram. All the podcast content is there. Subscribe on YouTube, like the video, give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places where you listen to the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, follow Mike at all_Star Wars. Follow me at Star Wars_exchange. Thanks all very much once again, and we'll see you next week for Andor episode 6. See you later.
Adios.